You're on air.
Welcome, everybody, to the Living Consciously television show, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado internet studios, as well as streaming on YouTube Live and Google Hangouts and on ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. I am your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and also the founder of Conscious Evolution Media, a network that's been going on a little bit over 10 years now. Our theme today is how to live life joyfully, and I'm very happy to welcome our guest, whose name is Celeste Shirley, and she's joining us from that place called Toronto. And welcome to the show.
Welcome. It's good to be here. Thanks, Steve.
And Celeste, what is Toronto famous for?
CN Tower, definitely.
Okay.
Unpredictable weather. We try not to get too excited.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I thought you were.
That has unpredictable weather, and you'll understand this in just a minute because I'm going to introduce our cast. Right next to Celeste, to the left, is Nina de Verderosa. She's joining us from that city where the lights never go out, and that would be Las Vegas. Welcome to the show, Nina.
Thank you, Steve. The lights are still on. You know they have the lights on even during the daytime.
Yes, I know.
They never go out.
I would like to know what's the electrical bill in Las Vegas for.
I don't think you'd like to know. I really don't, because they have so much electricity here. The bills are so like unbelievable. But
the power company there must be a very happy company.
Yeah, when I come back into another life, I'm going to own the power company in Vegas.
There you go. And then next to Nina is Linda Dyer. And she's joining us from a place where the kangaroos are always running wild, and that would be Australia. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Oh, thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here.
Have you seen them running wild today?
No, not today. I did, as I said, a week and a half ago down in Bendigo. They ran right past me. So, and I thought of you, Steve, because you always say that.
Yeah, that's
However,
right.
I'm near the beaches now, and I haven't seen a kangaroo for a while.
All right. So welcome everybody, and welcome to all of our viewers. And the theme today is actually quite exciting. It's very simple. It's how to live life joyfully. But I think in its simplicity, I think a lot of us gets lost or get challenged by the simplicity, because everybody's looking for what? I mean, everybody wants to be full of joy and full of love. Everybody wants to love and be loved, and somehow this becomes one of the #1 challenges of humanity. So I think our guest today, Celeste, has some lights that she can shed on this subject, because she knows something about duality and non-duality. So let's explain first to our viewers, what do you mean by duality, and then how do you transform duality on this planet?
Transform duality?
Mm-hmm. into non-duality. And when we're in non-duality, where are we, or what are we?
Yes, thank you.
Who are we?
Yes. When we transform duality into non-duality, we become exactly who we are, and nothing less. And it's so unique that it's impossible to design it or state it, and yet I need to use words here because I'm being asked the question. When you experience who you are, it is indescribable. You feel completely alive. You can feel completely who you are. So that could be described as that person that's picking the Rocky Road ice cream or the vanilla that's right at the counter that says, that's what I want. You know exactly who you are, what your favorite tastes are. You feel who you want to be with. You know exactly what you want to do as you're in that moment of life, so it doesn't need to be premeditated or planned. And there's never any emotion that is hijacking you. You actually experience each emotion directly. There's no impact of the emotion. It informs you without taking you over. For example, if you experience deep loss, incredible loss, which I've experienced, and deep layers of grief, I feel the grief, but the sadness in it opens me, and it expands me to experience even more. And then those that have also had that experience come into my radar, and I don't even mean energetically or spiritually or downloading or channeling, I meet them, and my sense of loss feels alive. It hurts. It's not pain. It hurts. I feel alive in the hurt, and the hurt doesn't end up being anything bad or good. It's hurt. And
why are so many of us afraid to actually admit who we are or what we are? We're always, when people ask us questions, we're very evasive as to answer it. Why, we're like being ashamed of who we are, and I don't get that.
That's a great question.
I want a great answer.
Okay, because we're so conditioned to believe that we're supposed to be a certain way. It's supposed to look a certain way, or we're supposed to behave a certain way, that to unabashedly state who we are might not conform. And so we're looking for some kind of reference point that people can relate to, perhaps, instead of just being who we are completely. So if I say, yes.
Yeah, just wanted to say something there, because just something came to me. The natural answer from what you said would be, we can't answer the question because we in duality. Because in duality, we are pretending. We're not really being ourselves.
We are. That's absolutely. That was my question. We're never who we are. We're always pretending. We're saying we're either trying to make ourselves bigger or we're trying to make ourselves smaller.
And it's because we're disconnected. We're disconnected. So
yes, and in non-duality, you actually can't disconnect. So even if we were in an extremely frightening situation, we wouldn't be able to separate from the circumstances of the situation, because we would directly, boldly state a boundary or remove ourselves and not feel afraid. It would be true action. So it gets to the point where all you can do is what you know to be true in that moment, without it being considered courageous or fearful. There's no possibility for any judgment or view of who you are or what you're doing when you're in your truth. And if there is, if somebody does judge it as courageous or fearful, it's their perception put onto you. But it's impossible to feel that what you're doing is incorrect, because when you're in your truth, nothing can feel right or wrong. It only feels true.
I agree, absolutely.
Can I just add an example that may help some of the viewers? I recently had an altercation, or I did. Well, yes, my dog had an altercation with my puppy dog.
What's an altercation?
Hang on.
Oh no, let's not go into detail, Steve.
I had an altercation with a cat, and the lady was extremely upset and etc. and wrote a very long, I'm taking you to court and rave, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, for what? Anyway, I couldn't answer it in the state I was in, and I just let it sit. And I let it sit all day yesterday, and then today I just felt like I was in that space where I could pick it up, I could read it, I could associate into exactly what happened on that day. I could feel the truth, I could feel exactly what happened from her point of view, from my point of view, and our pet's point of view. And I wrote a letter talking about perception, that from your perception I can see where you were coming from. From my perception, this is what I felt happened, and we're both entitled to that. And it was so calm when I wrote this letter back in point form, almost like an AD person, an audio digital person, that I was able to just calmly say, instead of saying, that's absolutely ridiculous, I'll see you in court, it was just phenomenal to be able to almost, to solve the whole thing through great language, through being in a place where I was just absolutely coming from her truth and my truth. And I walked down and I just handed it to the building manager and said, this is what happened, this is her perception, this is my perception, and I feel like it should be over now. That was an embedded command, but but it just felt really good. Whereas had I done it yesterday, when my mind was on, getting my book out, etc., I would not have given it the energy it required, and it could have ended up being something that was taken further and being in a negative frame. So that's what I'm getting from what you're saying, was what I experienced this morning. It was like I was in a place of peace, and I just voiced, and I actually mentioned the word perception, and I mentioned how both of us are at cause for every incident in our lives, and until we realise that, we're disempowered if we're going to run around blaming everybody.
Have you heard from her at all? Does she know about this very sort of beautiful letter you wrote of compassion and of the two of you?
No, I gave it to the building manager, and I said, maybe you would kindly give it to her, because I've got a dog, and if I walk the dog down to her place where there's a cat...
Might have a problem again.
So he's really happy with the letter, and he said, and he's going to advise her not to take any further action. He's happy with what I wrote, and I said, well, that's what I wrote. It came from my heart. It was the truth, and I felt really at peace when I wrote it.
But they always say that, when you have a problem like that, or when things like that happen, it's always better to wait, a few hours, but don't jump into it right away. It's like having an argument, and you're arguing. You were never in that argument, but you start arguing because that's the thing to do. But if you kind of wait till the next day, how everything can you understand it a little better, you see it clear, and you've got a clearer mind on it. So I think what you did is what a lot of us should do more often, so that we don't have those problems of arguing about something that wasn't there in the first place.
And also looking at it from everyone's point of view, being really open. Like, I looked at it from my point of view and I associated into that. And you can go and sit in another chair and you can say, well, what was it like for her?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at it from her point of view. Yeah, and then the third chair, we call it wisdom training. The third chair, I looked at it and I said, okay, so how could I do this differently? If these are her costs from whatever happened, then why don't I just go halves? Because then we're both at cause, and we're both at cause for and I just wrote out a check and said, I'm not giving you this check because I feel responsible. I think we're both responsible. However, I'm kindly offering you this money to compensate you for the medical expenses that you had. Because her cat clawed her really badly.
So I'm curious, Linda, how do we get an understanding of what somebody else's perception is?
You disassociate. So when I'm looking at it from my point of view, I'm totally associated in what it was like for me. When I can sit in another chair and look at it from another person's point of view, I'm disassociated. And so the universe helps me have a look at it from the other perspective. So I put myself in her position. I become her, or I become him. This is brilliant to do with children. It's brilliant to do with your partner. So I look at it from here, and oh my gosh, from her point of view,
a very different
my dog attacked her cat. Well, however, my dog, went over there. He didn't attack at all. But from her point of view, because she's favouring her cat and I have to look at it from her point of view, that she's protecting and that she's not making much money at the moment, so she's feeling like the world's on top of her, and this was just another thing. So looking at it from that point of view gave me a different understanding, rather than just saying, well, I haven't broken any laws, you can't really do much about it. I mean, to me it just gave me a deeper understanding of where she was coming from, where I was coming from, and how could I approach it in a slightly different way,
so
rather than just going...
Celeste, what do you think about all this? Did she kind of handle it in her way or the right way, or how do you take this?
Yes, she did, and because she connected directly with the other person. And when you're in, again, I keep going back to non-duality. When you're in non-duality, you'll actually experience the other person directly, because you actually feel at one with everything, and it's not a mindset. It's actually that you can't feel separate. There's no set of a platform or a separate self. And these are all words that I had to start to use, but you just simply would not think about her in any way, because that would separate you from her. And when you're in so-called, again, non-duality, you can feel compassion consistently. And people find that unimaginable, but it's accurate, because when you feel like yourself, you feel like everything. You feel whole and complete, and like there's nothing to do. So no action to take towards anything or anyone. So you simply are with them directly, and you would feel compassion and empathy, and this would connect you. And I find it actually gets humorous, because there's so little to do, and yet I do so much more, and we do so much more when we're in non-duality, because we work from a place of passion, compassion, love. Empathy is like your default. In fact, it almost gets to the point where it's humorous, because someone might apologize for something, and you can't take things personally, so you have to go through the data and remember, oh, that's right, they were late last week. But it's irrelevant. All that matters is true action, that the details are irrelevant. And so you can't have a view or a perception of someone. So when you see that she's concerned about her cat, or as you say, Linda, which you did so, like, empathically the next day, as you say, you got out of the charge of the focus on your book and your deadline and what you needed to focus on. So her need was an interruption. And then when the charge of that emotion was over, then you were able to perceive her. You had that perception of her, and that connected you to her, and you could understand her needs. And
I even felt the fear that she had in her belly. I could feel it. That the fear that she had, that, you know, that my cat could have been damaged, or, you know, I mean, we've been here 4 years, and my dog wouldn't hurt a fly, but she didn't know that we hadn't met each other before, and I could actually feel it. It was really, really interesting process, and I've done it twice this month because I teach it, and I've actually sat down and done it twice, and on both occasions it's the most powerful thing to do, to get the other person's perception and then have a deeper, deeper understanding about what's going on for that person and what's going on for you, and how could you possibly handle it differently, or work it in a different way that would help both of you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
The first thing I noticed that you did different than I think what most people do is you didn't react.
No.
So you remove yourself from that reaction and took whatever time you needed for you to be able to be, I guess Celeste said that word, is to be one. Because we really are connected and we're one with each other. So, you know, people would probably, I don't know what they would say if I said, there's only one of us in the studio.
I'm a Gemini, so I know there's two of me.
There's actually four of us, but if I say there's only one of us, people go, are you crazy? I see four people there, but when we're connected and we're in the present moment, there's only one of us here.
So how do we get people to actually take a leaf out of Linda's book of what she just did, and Celeste, and how do we get other people to try to sort of count 10 before you say something or do something, you know, sort of have that patience for when you're sort of caught up in the moment and you're sort of, you know, out there ready to fight back and do what you think you should do, not what you should do. And the reaction is to fight back. I personally don't do that because I think it's a waste of time. But you know, a lot of people do that, and we get all these divorces, and we get all these poor children that are all yelled and screamed at without thinking. So how do we get people to think before they leave?
Yes, pause. You said it. 10 seconds, and that's what I instruct all my youth and adults: is pause. Just pause, and it really is like pressing the pause on your device, and it take as long as you need to, because you can, of course, get back to the person. You can say, I'm hijacked right now. I can't even think straight, or I don't trust what's here in me right now. So that's trusting yourself to know this is not the time. And pausing, I find, is understood by everybody. Everybody understands the need to pause, that this is not, this moment is way too charged for both of us, or certainly for me. And I really want to have clarity when I speak with you. I almost said share with you when I speak with you. So that'll connect them to you, because they'll see your earnestness. For example, I had a student come to me last week, Shane, and she wouldn't mind me saying her name. She loves when I talk about her stories. And she had accidentally started a fire in the bathroom at school. And she had lit the toilet paper on fire just because, and then she put it out, but she didn't, and the canister got caught on fire of the toilet paper roll, so she's trying to put it out, burning her fingers. She's going through all of this, and she's terrified that the school camera is going to record her, because then there was a lockdown in the school just after this happened. So now she's terrified that she's going to get, you know. So she comes to me after school and she says, Celeste, I think they're going to charge me for pyromania and everything. And I said, Shane, look at you right now. She was so sorry, so embarrassed. She felt so ridiculous. It was just a stupid little thing she did with her lighter in the toilet. And I said, look at you. You're no pyromaniac. They are not going to charge you for that. You just clearly made a mistake and you feel ridiculous because of it. And they're going to see that all over your face. They're not going to see somebody that had an intentional act in them before they went into the toilet. So it was, yeah. So it was, you know, she came in her fear, and I said, when they see your fear, Shane, they're going to know nothing was intentional. And so this is the experience of non-duality. Whatever you're experiencing is truth. And if we don't try to buckle up and be strong when we go to the principal's office, when we get called down, and we just go, and show how scared we are, they're going to know truly what happened. And we spend so much of our time, we started the conversation with being in conditioned responses, but our true self in non-duality shows the raw emotion, and it's real. It can't be anything but. So we don't even need to attempt to be honest with our partner or to be authentic. Like, all of this was derived after we created duality. We don't need to be in honest communication. We can only experience raw communication when we're in non-duality, because we are completely who we are. And when we are in non-duality, so we feel like totally who we are, it's not even a big deal. It's just that it's become perceived as a high super level state of consciousness because we so rarely feel free enough to be that non-duality, be who we are. And when we are that, we can't harm. And yet our anger will be solid because it will cut the bullshit. It will separate what needs to be separated. We'll state a healthy boundary without any view of the other person, because we can't feel separate from them, but we know what needs to stop. And I've done this in a situation with a 250-pound contractor that had completely messed up the job beyond comprehension. And I called him into a room and closed the door so that none of the other workmen could hear. And I'm a little one. And I just looked at him and I said, tell me what's going on. I said, does your daughter have cancer? Is there something wrong? Tell me what's going on. Because this guy was taking all of the money. He'd been fully paid. Long story short, I just wanted to know, is he in some semblance of mind that he's doing this? Like, is there something wrong? Yeah. There was nothing wrong. He was robbing me. And I knew that, but I really wanted to know, is there something wrong? And there wasn't. And I said, then get out there and put all of that away. And and he was shaking. And I'm shaking now because I'm talking to you about it, and it was an incredible time. And it was maybe the third time in my life I remember being so angry that nothing that was false could enter that scenario. And it didn't. And he did go out and finally do the work after a lot of delays and costs. And I didn't feel angry, bold, like force, because as you know, in non-duality, it's only power. So all I felt was clarity and true action, and the response is usually immediate. Everything changes, and everybody's relieved because the truth has been revealed.
And how do you think he feels? How does he feel now? I mean, he's got to feel elated.
Yes.
You find out? I mean, did you find out what happened?
What happened as far as why he did
how he felt and how he got over his problems.
No, I didn't, because he actually was somebody that was a crook. So,
you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, I did. So I got to have that experience, and the thing in non-duality is I saw that I was giving my power away. I literally felt like I was prostituting my power because I knew this person, I trusted them, I'd known them for a very long time, they'd done a lot of other work, and so I gave them my money up front. And I didn't sign contracts, et cetera, certain aspects of the job, and this was a very large job. This was a house, a whole house, my whole studio, and it
was you that went through this.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. So this was what happened to you.
Yes. In building the yoga house in Toronto. And
which is a very beautiful studio, man.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But you never do anything without a contract or writing without that's for sure.
And the other piece in non-duality is all the errors that I make, all the places where I make giant financial losses, is showing me what I believe about myself. And I had such a clear vision to build this yoga sanctuary in nature. I had such a clear vision. There was no question in my mind. And yet it went against code. It went against, there were so many things that happened, as it does when we follow our dream and we have no idea how it's going to happen.
Let me ask you a question on that and interrupt you on that one second.
Yes.
Were you kind of pushing the envelope to get it done and finished when it wasn't supposed to be done and finished at that time, or even to be started? I mean, because it seems like that you were having a lot of these obstacles and a lot of this stuff going against you. So did you really want it done that fast, or what was the situation?
Oh, thanks. That's a good question. No, Nina, it was ahead of its time. And so when I did finally, no, it wasn't. So it wasn't, it was true resistance. It was testing my courage, testing my knowing. And I knew that this yoga sanctuary was to be built. There was no confusion about that. It's that I faced resistance on either side of me, literally, in the neighborhood, and that was reaction to trying to control me.
Yeah.
So it was.
You like to be controlled, do you?
I like actually to be told, like an outright request. Be clear with me. But to control
being told and being clear are two different things.
That's right.
Being clear, yeah, being told. Being clear is you want the clear picture of what something really is 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my request then is, Celeste, what is it about Celeste that needed to have this experience? Like, if we take this to the question or the conversation of law of attraction, why did you attract this experience?
Thank you.
Do you know?
Oh, do I? Yes. Oh, do I? I hope I can say this in one program. It was clear to me that in the world I give away my energy to males, or I did. And so I believe that I need to be something. I either need to be super intelligent, because I'm a natural blonde, or I need to be, because I have an innocence and a passion for life that is childlike, and I'm 50. And I have this absolute belief in I know that everything is here. I don't practice non-duality. I know it. I read about it afterwards. So I gave my power away because, first of all, I did trust and believe this person who happened to be male. And I believed he understood my vision because he told me that. So
He did understand your vision. He took all your money.
Yes. That's right. That's right. So his vision was just
his vision.
My vision.
His vision.
Different vision. And I trusted unabashedly, and I'm sure you can see it in my demeanor. I have this willingness and this interest and this innocence that is not ignorance. It's a knowing that the truth always will occur, always. So even though I lost an incredible amount of money, like it's not even imaginable, but I came through it and I did manage to refinance and everything's excellent. I believed that I had to give my power away, that I had to pay, and so I did.
But it cost you a lot, but it was probably very much worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can't
But
regret
there's also points that I think we need to go through. If you look at, like Bob Proctor would call them a terror barrier, NLP calls it a bifurcation point. It's like a point that we need to go through to take the learnings to go to the next stage. It's like when we're changing from one level of awareness to another. There seems to be a whole lot of stuff seems to hit us, and we're meant to learn from that so that when we go up to the next level of awareness, we're already conditioned to cope with whatever's going to come our way.
Yes.
And that's what I'm getting from you, because this month, November for me, has just been like that. I've just been sailing, had the best year, and then all of a sudden a couple of things like that last incident and the one before, and I'm thinking, what was I meant to learn from that? Why did that occur? And then I went, oh my God, this is a bifurcation point. This is exactly, there's going to be something huge happen after I get through these two things. And that's exactly what's happened. My book's gone out, and not only, it literally, as we speak, has gone bestseller, but gone bestseller in 4 countries. and it's already won an award. And I went, oh my gosh. And then this email came in this morning saying there's going to be massive change in your life, and blah, blah, blah. And I went, I really felt that bifurcation. It's like a testing time for the people watching, that we're tested, and we need to go through that test, and we need to ask, what are the learnings? What am I meant to learn from my actions, my the way I responded and or reacted to the situation, so that, you know, next time I may do it differently.
Yes, yes, Linda, thank you, and congratulations.
Yeah, I think we're all tested, though. You know, we're all tested to see how we pull through and how we do it. You know, and obviously the stronger you are and the more you understand, the better you can get through it. But I think life is like that. I don't think you ever stop learning. I mean, I'm not going to say how old I am. Well, I am. I'm 39 and holding. I've just been holding a long time, that's all. Don't laugh, Steve.
How long have you been holding?
No, I'm not telling you that. Are you kidding? But, I mean, you learn all the time, and every single day you learn something new, or you do something new. But isn't that beautiful? Isn't that how life should be? And I mean, if it was the same all the time, how boring. But it's testing how far we can take something. How can we cultivate something new? How can we do something new? But I think so many people are afraid of the criticism of failing, so they don't try it. Would that be true, Celeste?
Absolutely, absolutely. And right in that fear is the impetus to tip into it. Because if you feel really, as you know, if you feel really frightened, then you know you're onto something, and that is exactly where you want to be.
Yeah, and exactly what you don't want to do is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you get into that place, you think, oh, I don't like this, and I think I've got to get away, or I can't handle this. But that's the test.
Yes.
To see how you can get through it, and to go through it, and to understand it, and not to be afraid. I think not to be afraid to make a mistake. Because how do we know? It's like children. Children make mistakes all the time. We're the grown-ups to help them, to teach them, to show them. But because they're so young, you know, they don't really mind. They think that's just how it is. And we do it automatically with children. But when we seem to get older, we get fear. We get this fear into us.
My life wouldn't exist, Ninon, without mistakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got it.
It's one mistake after another. And they're great. I love it because it's, you know, otherwise I wouldn't be a risk taker. You wouldn't, you know, there's no fun. It's about, you know, hearing a message and just going and being a part of that. I wouldn't have gone to Africa this year, or I wouldn't have been a part of, you know, what we did in China, or all this sort of stuff. And it's just, yeah, to me, it's about make the mistakes, take the learnings, and go, wow, thank you. I've just learnt so much, because there must be something else that I'm heading for. I absolutely believe that. I believe it's just to make us feel stronger and different about who we are, so that we can then handle whatever it is that's going to come our way, because the universe has plans for us, all of us.
Oh, absolutely. What is this thing about yoga? I have a problem with trying to do it. I want to do it, and I've tried it all my life. I've tried to do it, and I don't know. There's always something that keeps us stop me. I don't know what it is, but it seems to be so fulfilling for so many people. Why?
Why and which aspect? Do you mean the physical aspect?
Anyway, any aspect. What do I know? I don't know. I guess more of with the physical, but I think I will probably go more into the mental.
Yes. The mental aspect is that because the mind continues to get stilled through the practice because of what happens in the nervous system, that it's very difficult to get hooked by an emotion. It's more like the emotion informs you. For example, I was on the highway the other day, and a transport came right over into my lane, and I had to go into a cement barrier. Like if he didn't stop, I'd have to go into a cement barrier. Mm-hmm. And Ninon, I just managed it.
You knew what to do automatically.
Yeah, I
know why, because you didn't panic. You just took control.
Yeah, it's like you can't panic, because after, and of course at times you can, but it's less probable. So I noticed it was the first time I'd felt adrenaline in I don't know when the last time was, and I thought, okay, I guess the nervous system is transmuting. And I guess that the parasympathetic, the relaxation response, is more prevalent, which seems strange for me because I'd never been that way before. So I'm becoming calmer. I like to think of myself as a reformed type A, but I'm not. But clearly it's happening. So there's a transmutation that's going against my what I thought was personality type, because I'm becoming more calm. And yesterday I had a situation where I faced my neighbor, and the other thing that happened with building the yoga studio is the neighbors on either side went together and went down to City Hall and made basically false allegations to try and close me down and say I was going against zoning. And what I did was I didn't respond because it was just mudslinging and it was war, and I couldn't respond. I couldn't feel any truth to move towards. And so this neighbor has been for 5 years not speaking to me, and so I just came right up to him, and he always moves away and I can't catch him on the street, and yesterday I got him. And so
what were the consequences?
Yeah, there was no way out. So I said to him, I notice when I see you that I feel this energy. And he was very, very angry, and he said, well, you called the police on me last year and you said I harassed you. And I did, because he did, and he harassed some of my friends and people on my property. So I addressed it, and he said, well, it wasn't me, and he turned around. And so I saw that he said it was someone else. And so I saw that he can't in any way connect with me. It's nothing personal. It's again, for me to face male energy that is so called.
It was a man again. You have these problems.
It's a man again. A man problem. So that's right. So instead of answering to him all of this time when he sent in allegations to City Hall, which, by the way, I could get fined very, very, very heavy fines, and they did try to. But what I did was I decided to just go down to City Hall, face the men, and just walked in and kind of wore a nice shirt and went in, and I said, listen, here's the studio, here's the schedule, come by, see the classes, see what's going on so that you have all of your answers. And here's the plans, here's the pictures, this is what's going on here. And then they on the spot they changed the zoning. They basically they affirmed and closed my building permit. And that was after 3 years of these people.
And you know why? Because honesty prevails all.
It really does.
And you said at the very beginning of the show, it's all over your face, whatever it is. Whether you're being honest or lying or whatever it is, it's written on your face. And that's what they perceived from you when you went in yesterday, I think you said.
Yes.
And I think that's why, because they looked and they thought, wait a second, this is an honest thing. It's going to obviously do their town some good. I mean, tax-wise or anywise, that's how it works. As long as they can make money out of you, they'll give you a permit, believe me.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
They're not listening. Yeah, so I'm seeing that anytime I feel fear, and we all have this, whenever the fear is there, that's the moment of growth. Like, that's where the impetus is. And be really curious about that feeling, because that is actually agitation. It's a shedding of a limit. And if you can feel that anxiety, that degree of anxiety, of course, evolution, transmutation is occurring. And Steve, that was your original question. How do we experience the transmutation? And as we all know, it's be in the fear and do it anyways. But like really, really, really feel your fear, because our personal fears are so unique. Something that scares you might embarrass someone else, and something that scares someone else might just say, get angry. So we all have such a different temperament as to how we experience our fear, and we need to really feel it. And I don't mean be hijacked and overwhelmed, but feel it, because it will actually rawly move us into action if we keep letting it, and it's awful. It feels awful.
Well, and Steve, didn't you just go into something? You just took on a new contract or something, and you vowed you would never go back into the banking business. And this is not fear, but it's going into something you really didn't want to do, which you're doing. Does this kind of relate to you, Steve?
Well, it's not that I was fearing it. I was disgusted by the industry, and if you look at any statistics, the three industries that I guess the most unconscious, and oh my God, I'm going to say this on a conscious show, but this is from statistics that mortgage brokers, real estate brokers, and car dealers are the most unconscious industries, you know, in the United States, and there's a lot more, but you know, when I left the industry in 2006, I left it because I was about to throw up on the table. That's how disgusting everything became. And I said, I'm never going to return to this. Not only am I not going to return to the finance industry, but I'm not going to return to corporate America because they all motivated by one thing, and that's money. And I felt that, and I feel very strongly about that today, is that we better find, and I don't even care that you're in the finance business, that we better find a better reason, a bigger reason to be in business or to get up in the morning than just to make money.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be like that, but you know, unfortunately, everybody wants all these things, and they really don't mean anything, because the only thing you have in this entire world is your body. That's all you have. And this is all we have, and this is all we really function with, and everything else around us is things that we buy to what, to show off, or to I don't know why we buy all this stuff. I've got loads of stuff in my home, and half the time I don't use any of it. You know?
I mean, look at what's going to happen Friday. Friday, people are going to die because they're going to go shopping.
Oh, I'm not shopping. I'm not doing Black Friday, Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays or anything.
They're going to give their life.
But they are
on Friday. Yeah.
What makes them do that? So let's put, you know, it's another day. It's just that everything's going to be 50% less. Well, maniacs, you know.
Desperation, a belief that if they save, or it's we don't know how to be just who we are without any concept of it.
We're just afraid to be who we are. We have to go out and shop. You know, shop for what? I'm sure the majority of people that are going to shop, they've already got all the stuff they need anyway. Majority of them.
Well, I love it when they come back and say it was on special.
but there's no way. You couldn't pay me to go to Walmart at 4 o'clock in the morning and stand in line to wait until the doors of the store open and then step on other human beings so that I can get to the sale first. That would never happen. You know why? Because for me, it's about choices, and it's about personal responsibility. So I would never make that choice. I can't even fathom myself and see myself to make that choice. Although, so here we go again. I said that I would never go back to corporate America, and
you're back in it.
I am back in there. But I'm back in there because this time, see, back in 2006, I felt that I was completely powerless to do anything about it. It was so bad, and everybody was just complaining about it, and you know, bitching and moaning, and nobody had a solution. So this time, the reason I went back is because this time I'm coming armed. I have what I learned in the last 10 years, which is about consciousness and about the growth I went through personally, and it doesn't scare me anymore. The industry doesn't scare me because the industry is nothing more and nothing less than just people.
What do you find Steve, what do you find the difference in people as of then, 2006, and as of now? What is the difference do you see in the people and how they approach you?
Well, I find a lot of the same, but there are exceptions. So, for example, the two people that hired me, they actually saw the value of my background, and they were able to connect the dots that I spent 3 decades in technology, I spent 9 years in finance, and I spent almost 10 years in broadcasting, and they could connect those dots and see how their business could benefit from that. And what I'm helping them build now is a different financial industry, which has to do with actually the mortgage business, the mortgage people, looking out for the realtors to make sure that the realtors are going to be successful. Because guess what? Until there is a house sold, there is no reason to be a mortgage broker.
Absolutely.
Instead of the mortgage brokers, instead of the mortgage brokers are being concerned about them having a deal, because this is how they think. This is the old thinking. I gotta have a deal, and it's all from scarcity. It's like most mortgage brokers happy if they have 3 to 4 deals a month, and that's what they need to make a living, and that's their comfort zone, and they don't even know what would be possible if that doubled or tripled. They not even think about that, but because they can't think about that, because they right now afraid that what happens if they're not going to get the third one, or they're not going to get the second one. What if they only get one?
Yeah.
And so everybody's walking around on their forehead with this thing. I need a deal. I need a loan. Give me a loan. And guess what the realtors are saying? Sorry, loans are commodity. The way I handle loans are just like the way I handle go buy milk. It's all the same. You know, so what I'm creating here with this company is, let's forget about the fact that for just a moment that we are in the mortgage business. That's not relevant. What's relevant is we're in the business of helping customers, buyers, and helping realtors that are listing agents to get more business. That's the business we're in. And the byproduct of that is that we're going to end up doing those loans.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's like completely the opposite of what everybody's doing.
Yeah, we're all upside down in the world except Linda.
But that's because of the kangaroo.
No, we are upside down.
Literally.
Even our toilets go the other way.
So to answer your question directly, Nina, yes, in 2006, I was scared of my own industry, and I was scared that there is no way I could make a living the way things were.
Okay.
And here is all this time and energy I put into broadcasting, and I realized that, wait a minute. Yes, I know that we're changing lives. I know that these shows and these broadcasts that we've been doing, over 15,000 of them in the last 10 years, I know that they're touching, moving, and inspiring people, and we're changing lives. But I found myself in a way that I created my own comfort zone. It became very, very comfortable to do this, to do these shows and having these interviews and talking about consciousness and, you know, what's possible and what's next, and that this is really just a way of being. It's not about doing. You know, like Celeste said that at the beginning of the show, none of this is really about doing. It's about being.
Yes.
And that's what I want to teach to the industry, because this is not just for the finance industry. This is for everything.
Yeah.
But getting back to reality, Steve, you had to go back into a business, you know, for your contract and do something you really were trying to get away, or you got away from, and you were away from because of financial status and because it's a job and because it was something that was presented to you. You had to take on something again. Fortunately, they've got a whole bag of goods because you have so much to give them in so many different realms. But you still had to do something because financially, that's what you had to do. Right?
Well, yes, consciousness, you know, I mean, I love doing these shows, but guess what? It's very tough to make a living, you know, out of this business, because most of the people, this is still not popular. We have to be able to admit that to ourselves. And I'm willing to admit that to myself, that what we're doing on this network and what we're doing about consciousness and the conversation, this is not popular yet. I mean, we would be crazy if we thought that it was. It's changing every day, and every day people are touched, moved, and inspired, not just by what we're doing in this network, but other people are doing similar stuff, and they're being touched, moved, and inspired, and people are growing, and people are becoming more and more aware and becoming more and more conscious. But guess what? I don't know what the number is, but a very large percentage of the U.S. is still living in duality. I mean, look at just what happened last night when it was announced that
Ferguson, yeah.
that the court decided that
Michael
that
Brown.
the cop is not guilty of anything.
Yeah.
Look
And
at what
that
happened.
blew my mind, and I don't want to talk about
They living in duality and they burning the town up.
I don't want to talk about that too much because, but what I saw was absolutely horrifying to me. That we're trying to make peace and we're trying to do, and I mean there was just fire after fire after fire, and then they're complaining that the fire people aren't going out there and putting the fires out when all these guns are going off. Well, the firemen don't carry guns, so how do they protect themselves? So it was a total mess of people going completely. And this gets back to you, Celeste. That they completely lost their minds. Is that what happened, Celeste?
There's just it's so loaded. That topic.
I'd say when winning duality, anything is possible.
Well, in duality, the pain.
In terms of darkness, anything is possible.
The pain takes over. There's simply the experience of what happened, and there can't be. It's so far gone at that point. There's so much that has led up to that compilation of those events, that event, that it's so charged that there's little intelligence or even arena for any concept of understanding or meeting points. So yes, duality, completely in duality. I mean, I'm using simplistic terms to reveal that there's not even an initiation there of any coming together for meeting, for understanding, for compassion, for empathy, for deep listening. There's no heart-based. This is all about force. It's all about force. The police force, the youth fighting back. Everyone's trying to have representation. There's no room there. There needs to be somebody like Barbara Marx Hubbard that comes in and is providing some space. Somebody needs to be hired. They need to be brought into something that is neutral. Yes. So none of that's occurring. So there isn't even any question of any movement out from that space at this time.
Mm-hmm. But when we're blaming something, Celeste, when we're blaming, and that's clearly what they're doing. So they're blaming that cop for doing whatever he did, shoot somebody. Then they're disempowered. When you blame anybody, you hand your power to the person you're blaming. And so when you're disempowered, the only way you feel that you can be have any sort of power is to gather other disempowered people around you, and that there's some sort of sense that in that group, as it gets bigger, we become the power, rather than it's basically a bunch of disempowered people all blaming one man, and then a court says it's not his fault, and they can't understand that. There's no justification in their world that that he shouldn't be blamed, and so they. The whole town's disempowered, and the only way they can do that is to light fires or to make it worse, and they're proving a point.
Well,
the same thing, I think.
Yeah, they got into their mind.
The same thing happens with.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. The same thing happens in the health industry. When we find somebody that's unwell, they find a whole bunch of other people and they form associations. Like the Lupus Association and the Arthritis Association and this association. And to me, it's a group of disempowered people. They don't really constructively go out and feel empowered to be able to solve their own problems. It's like they're living in their own disempowerment because now they've got group support to keep them there. And the sadness of that situation, like you were saying, Celeste, is that, they're not even in a place where someone like us could walk in there and say, hey, let's get together and talk about this.
Yes, and until there's that inquiry, there's no room. And and what we can do, and what Steve is speaking to, is the hard place that we're at is there's sometimes not much consciousness or willingness or openness. There isn't the capacity for deep listening. And what we need to do, I mean, we call ourselves light workers or conscious evolutionaries, is we need to keep knowing that this is the way. And it isn't a way, it isn't a path that's separate or super level of consciousness. Again, we need to get over ourselves and recognize that it's a vibrational field that is right there with those two separate forces that we're seeing. It's right there, and know it, not as positivity, because that would mean we were sustaining something like a martyrdom. We would be holding something, and most people know that we're weary. People like us, so to speak, are burning themselves out, believing that we need to save and salvage and hold space, sacred space for people. It's not working. It's going to burn us out, especially women, because we've got more emotive centers in our brain, and we're more tuned into the needs of our clients and of our society and our village. And we
I'm not
can't.
saving anybody, so last time I saved
Did you say you're saving yourself?
Yes.
Yes, good. And that's what we.
That's all I can do.
Exactly.
That's all I can do.
Exactly.
Who
And
is
that's-
that stuff for, Steve?
Well done.
I think we get so set in our minds of something that just happened yesterday. We get so set in our minds that this is what I think and this is what I believe, regardless of reading anything or doing anything or actually looking to see what happened. And because I'm now wrong, and they get this anger, regardless, they don't even look into it or even see why and how and read about it. They don't even do that. They just say, this is what I thought, and this is what it is, and this is what I believe. And because of that, I'm going to burn a house down. I'm going to burn a building down. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes, and may I give an example of actual non-duality that I was able to pull up at a time that was critical? I was in crisis. I was in a domestic situation, and I was being physically attacked. And when he had both of his fists over my head, I went into non-duality. I got very calm, and I didn't see him as anything. I saw that what he was doing was crazy. He was taken over. And so I felt this, like, this can't happen. Like, you don't really want to do this. And all I felt was presence. So this wash of awareness came through, and it wasn't like I was channeling or anything. It was just I was life. And so his hands stopped, and I was able to leave the room and go to safety. And I didn't feel like he was anything wrong, bad, evil. He was overtaken. And so I needed to address that. That can't happen. So it gets...
Very understandable of you. In a situation like that.
In the state of non-duality, you can only assist life. And so if there's something that's going against life, going against a youth, it can't occur. So this is what we need to do for what's occurred yesterday in the news. We need to hold the vibration that we know that there is only life, there is only non-duality. And when we're personally, as Steve's saying, we can only take care of our own personal. When something is happening, be there. And if we cower or we push out, we're going to contribute. We're going to do the Thelma and Louise movie again. We're going to keep contributing to separation. And it's like, be in this experience of this is happening, and we can't even get scared, for real. We can't. We just take care of it. And like animals, we might shake off the trauma afterwards, but in the experience of separation, it can't happen. And many of us.
Here's the thing that where I'm coming from is that for me, the way it occurs, that there isn't even anything wrong, because they being completely congruent with who they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I like that. That's much clearer.
It's not like, and what you see the media doing is they all judging it like they know better. It's like I can't judge it because they being themselves, and if they being operating in duality, it's completely natural, and it's perfect what they're doing. It's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
But when you mention the animals, it's funny because you see the strong animal go after the weak. They always go after the small one, the weak one that can't get away. And that's nature. People go after the weak. They look for the weak. They find the weak, and they go after them, and that's what people do as well. And it's sad, but maybe through this program, Steve, we can change a few minds.
Well, I already changed my own. That's all I have control over.
Yes.
If we do, great. If we don't, that's great too. I can't really worry about that anymore. And that's all I'm doing in corporate America right now is I'm just being me, just like Celeste presented this whole theme, which is how to live life joyfully. I'm just enjoying every minute of what I do and who I am, and whatever comes out of that is absolutely perfect because it's supposed to be.
Yes. Hallelujah.
So,
Yes.
so actually, the Conscious Hour is coming to the end. So, you know, it's one of those 5-minute experiences that we have weekly, because it doesn't seem to be an hour. At least it doesn't occur for me that way. But when we're in the present moment and we are connected to each other, this is what happens. Time and space just transforms. So thank you so much, Celeste. You were absolutely fantastic, and you're so easy to be with and talk with. It's just
Oh, thank you, Steve.
awesome.
Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. And that face, you look like you're 25, 30. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
no kidding.
Yeah.
It's like
There's
how can she be?
distance.
How can she be 50? It's impossible.
so that's the way she thinks. That's why.
Yeah.
I think Steve's going to take up yoga, Celeste.
I already done that, and I did yoga for many years, and I don't think I'm going back there right now. But thank you. Been there, done that, and you know, anybody that's been listening or watching right now, or going to be watching in the future the replay, if you've been touched, moved, and inspired by anything that Celeste said, or Ninon, or Linda, or myself, or did, please continue to engage on our network, consciousevolutionmedia.com, because this is a great conversation, and we're having. We always outdo ourselves. Like, that's how I feel. We don't even review our shows anymore. We used to review them, but we don't even need to do that anymore because every show we do is better than the one we did last week.
Well, we just do it great, right?
What is there to
Practice
review?
makes perfect,
Next
Steve.
week it's going to be better than this week. That's just how it goes.
Well, if we keep having guests like Celeste, we're home free.
Thank
But that's what I hope for myself, is that when I go to this business, to this corporation next week, I'm going to be better than I am this week. And that's what I work for.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, yeah.
So and so I really enjoyed it. Thank you for, you know, all the way you guys ladies were engaging. Linda and Ninon, you were fantastic.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
for having this easy, you know, conversation and dialogue. It's what our network is all about, and I love you all, and we'll see you always same time, same place on Tuesdays on Living Consciously TV.
I love you too, Steve. And
Love you.
Linda, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. And I have goosebumps. That's a great thing. Thank you, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.